We call ourselves Po Lima Place. My name is Ronson. This is my lovely wife, Emalani. We range from Waimanalo, Po Lima Place. What do you want that? So we're going to be sharing some of our music, music that relates to us and where we come from. Here's a fun tune we love to play in Waikiki.
Catching away, feeling free, makes me feel so pretty. Doing and down, making sweet romance. We've got, well, my heart is here to stay, and my soul is on his way. He's riding high on the wave like he's touching the sky, rushing to the shore.
And it's like I'm flying into space, following the ancient race so long before. Oh, yeah. Diving, train, blowing up, where I just got an ocean, going surfing in the ocean.
Where I like to be.
That's where I'd like to be. Down in Waikiki.
Catching away.
She's catching away.
Feeling the freedom.
Over me.
Makes me feel so free. Doing a dance.
Oh.
Making sweet. Blue sky. Oh, my heart is here to stay, and my soul is on his way. He's riding high on the wave like he's touching the sky, rushing to the shore.
It's like I'm flying into space, following the ancient race so long before. Whoa, yeah. Dialing train, going on where I go. I just got
Ocean, going surfing in the ocean. Where I like to be.
That's where
Down in
like keep me away from the noise in the city. Take me to where life is peaceful and pretty. I'm going out. I'm on the North Shore Road. Take me away from the noise in the city. Take me to where life is peaceful and pretty. I'm going out. I'm on the North Shore Road. Strong. Strong.
Somebody to Easter break. Steve might. Hey, this is a song of love. A song that I did for my sister's wedding way back when. And it always makes me think of my parents. Anyway, a song about the joys of love.
Ike maka, ikanani, o uka, haleluya, imi ya eka wandoe, Ike maka, ika nani, o uka, aleluya, ika e kawane. Evelina, ake aloha, eho ipone, eho ine, yaloko, akapuva. Evelina, ake aloha, eho ipone, eho ine,
That's all you need is just like this.
yaloko, akapuva.
I can't set this up. It's in full screen.
Ekulei, kua, nani mai ole. No he a, I ka maka, ka ipo. E hola le, mai ana, e nau he a. E kuia lei, o aloha, makamai. Aina, ina mai, ana kapuana, kale, ini, e kauano. Aina, ina mai, ana kapuana, kale, ini, e kauano.
Long of love.
Oh, chicken skin. Sweet and lovely, ke o nau nau ka maile. Oi po ke alo, o hena shui ka pili poli. Tane a evalea, luana ka ila ila. He kopu vai, kapalili. Nani ua ko ka ini. Ai hoa pili mau oi no u. Oi ke aloha e no velu leo. E hene vai. Haina ka puana. Ke o nau nau ka maile. Ai ka pilina. Ele e me kulei. Sweet and lovely, ke o no no ka maile. Oi po ke ala, o he no shui ka pili poli. Luana ka ui laila. Miki oi ke ina, he ko puhuvai ka palili. Sorry, not can hear myself. Nani ua ko ka ini. Ai hoa pili mau oi no u. Koi ike aloha uleo. E hene vai ola ola. Haina ka puana ke o nau nau ka maile. Aloha Ele ayo me kule. Ele ayo me kule. Hey, mahalo everybody.
Hey friends, pa'i ko lima for our friends from Po'alima Place. Oh man, I can't get any better than that. If you're joining us, we're going to get officially started in just a few minutes, but we're all going to just kind of get out of this relaxation mode of this beautiful Hawaiian music that you just heard. So mahalo you folks for joining us. If you are just joining us online, mahalo for doing that. We are getting started officially in just a few minutes. So wherever you are in the world, we mahalo you for being here. Go grab your popcorn, grab your inu, whatever you need to do. Get yourself comfortable because we are about to drop and share some unbelievable ike and mana'o with you folks in the next few minutes. Aloha, my friends. So yes, do us a favor, get online, all social media, let all your friends know that the Asian Americans, the Native Hawaiians, and the Pacific Islanders, we are all getting together. So once again, my friends, ano ai kiloha kako. Greetings to each and every one of you. Mahalo for making time wherever you are in the world, for sitting and joining us and sharing space. You know, before we, well, let's get officially started. You know, here in Hawaii, whenever we get together for celebrations and festivities and sharing of knowledge and ike and mana'o such as this, we prove two things, right? We prove that blood related or not, we are all ohana. Number two, we're here to share and learn aloha and share with each other. And most importantly, when we get together, we want to make sure that we are all of the same breath, the same ha, because without ha, we are dead, basically. So what we want to do, wherever you are joining us from, you can either ku'iluna, you can stand, you can sit, but this is what we want to do really quick. So we're going to take 3 deep breaths. The first breath, I want you folks to connect to whoever your creator is. The second breath, I want you to connect to Aina, to Honua, wherever you are. And the third breath, connect to Kanaka, the people around you. Hawaiians, we believe that everything that goes into our ihu is clean, maika'i and pono. The things that come out of our mouth have the potential to be harmful. So we want to make sure we are of the same breath. So if you're joining us, hanu, hold, connect to your creator, whoever that may be. And ha. Hanu, hold, connect to Aina, Honua, wherever your 2 feet are standing right now. And ha. Hanu, hold, connect to Kanaka, the people around you. Even if we're on a laptop, you're on a computer, feel the vibration, the frequency of the people around you. And ha. Now we are of the same breath. We'd like to welcome each and every one of you. I'm so excited to be here. We are kicking off the Ohana Center of Excellence. This is just a group of some amazing people that got together, and we wanted to make sure that we have the resources for our people and your people, and this is what it's all about. The Ohana Center of Excellence will take a strength-based approach to addressing systemic issues that affect the mental health of Native Hawaiians, Pacific Islanders, and Asian Americans. So if you are joining us, what you're going to see on the bottom of the screen, many.com, we want you #engagement. We want you guys to get engaged. We want you to give us your ike, your mana'o, your thoughts, your ideas, and we want to all come together and just share, my friends. That's what it is all about. So as we continue on, as we do in Hawaii, we always start this way. Yes. Yeah.
Emu oya. He muna moi inu na moi moi ana puno no na hamia hemu oya. Hemu eli noa ya noa kohonua. Hemu oya. Hemu na moi inu na moi moi ana puno no na hamia hemu oya. Hemu eli noa ya noa kohonua. Hemu oya. Hemu na moi inu na moi moi ana puno no na hamia hemu oya. Hemu eli noa ya noa kohonua. E ho mai ka e mai una mai una mea una leo una mele e ho mai e ho mai e ho mai e ho mai ka e mai una mai e Ona mea leo, ona mele, e ho mai, e ho mai, e ho mai, e ho mai ka e mai una mai e, ona mea leo. Ona mele e ho mai
Koe mata mai Havani, whakamalo atu he ngahi tāpua ki ke whaua aki ki a te ki mautolu. Whakamole mole ka ke tāpua ki e angi ki mautolu ke mau nofo mo e whai ofa ofani. Ka ke mau mau ha ofa me lino mo e loto maulalo ke whai hofinga nango. I he hoafo sisu kalaisi. Amen.
And that is how we do it here in the islands. We're also going to send it over to our Ohana all the way across the Pacific in California.
Of the Halkim, Irgun, the ancestral and unceded land of the Chochenyo Ohlone-speaking people, successors of the sovereign Verona Band of Alameda County. This land was and continues to be of great importance to the Muwekma Ohlone tribe and other familiar descendants of the Verona Band. We recognize that every member of the Hayward community has and continues to benefit from the use and occupation of this land since the institution's founding in 1957. Consistent with our values of community, inclusion, and diversity, we have a responsibility to acknowledge and make visible the university's relationship to Native peoples. As members of the Hayward community, it is vitally important that we not only recognize the history of the land on which we stand, but also we recognize that the Muwekma Ohlone people are alive and flourishing members of the Hayward and broader Bay Area communities today. This acknowledgement was created by the Muwekma Ohlone tribe with the support of the CSU East Bay Indigenous Acknowledgement Collective and is a living document. I also want to add that we want to acknowledge the stolen labor and resources of many of the peoples of California that built many of our institutions here on this in this state, including the railroads, agriculture, as well as other city infrastructures. Much of it which the labor was not acknowledged or was taken. We acknowledge this connection to our history here today. Thank you.
Aloha to our friends all the way in California. How are you folks doing? Pihea kako? Thumbs up. Just one. So again, if you folks are joining us, mahalo, mahalo. As you know, when we get together just like this, we protocol is very important to us, and we make sure that we pay tribute to those who come before us, those who are here now, and those who come after us. As we said, welcome to Culture and Language Matters, recentering behavioral health for our Asian American, Native Hawaiian, Pacific Islander communities. That's why we're here, and we appreciate you for being here. There's a huge group of people that got together, the brains behind this, and put it all together. And we want to introduce you to them. They're going to let you know who they are, their mo'okuauhau, just a little bit, and their kuleana to this project. And we're going to start with our Hawaii team, and we're going to head all the way over here. And before that, So before that, we want to go to we always have a navigator. We always have the person that steers us in the direction that we need to go. Before we meet the crew, we have to meet the navigator. So ladies and gentlemen, we are going to throw it all the way over to the Department of Papa'ololokahi Native Hawaiian Health Board. How's about a round of applause, ladies and gentlemen, for Dr. Sherry Daniels.
Velina mai kako, mahalo, mahalo. I would not consider myself a navigator or the steersman. I think I save that title and that respect to John Oliver, who I know will be introducing himself. I am just the kako'o here that helps bring thought and I guess the intention to fruition. And aloha, everyone. I'm Sherry Daniels. I'm the Chief Executive Officer of Papa'ololokahi, and I am humbled and privileged and excited to see and be a part of this launch of our Center of Excellence, and having opportunity to bring to the forefront opportunities to help uplift our communities, our AANHPI communities in ways that I think many have imagined, have hoped for, and to have the opportunity to be able to do that is phenomenal. As I said, I am just a kako'o on this journey. I think it is important to not only have a leader, a navigator, but those that bring expertise, that bring passion, that bring all of those things, ike, knowledge, to the center, to the space that helps to uplift. And so I think our kuleana, our responsibility in this project is really to make sure that we bring voice to our NHPI communities, both here in Hawaii, our Pacific Islander partners and friends and cousins down in the Pacific, but also our NHPI communities across the other 49 states. I think this is a very monumentous time for us and our communities, and it's a lot of kuleana, a lot of responsibility to make sure that we do this in the way that has the best of intentions and that we execute with good pono, healthy, truthful intentions moving forward. So with that, I want to turn it over to the team at Vai, and I see John there and the other staff from Papa'ololokahi. So mahalo.
Dr. Sherry Daniels, our Executive Director of Papa'ololokahi. She just talked about the amazing team, and they're sitting right here to my left, and we want to introduce all of them to you. So let us know who you are, your kuleana to the project, and if you want, some mo'okuauhau, and where you are from.
Malolele, my name is Atalina Pasi, and I am a community navigator on the Center of Excellence Hawaii team. My family comes from Vava'u and from Nuku'alofa, Tongatapu, Ha'apai, and Ha'awhewa. So I'm so grateful to be here. And although I was born and raised in Hawaii, my parents have always made it a point to teach us our culture and our language. And I'm so grateful because it has kept me rooted and connected to my ancestors.
Malole soifua. My name is Chantel Eseta Matangi. My family are the Matangis from Pango Pango and the Salanoas from Tula. My family is from Utah, American Samoa, Kohuku, Hawaii, and my mom is originally from Pennsylvania and Syria. So I'm very grateful to be here. I am a community navigator. I have always worked within Pacific Islander communities. As someone who grew up on the continent, I think that it's important that we create spaces for language and culture so that way we can engage in a more meaningful way with our community members wherever they may be.
Aloha mai kako o lili noi ko hikawa ko inoa no pi'ihonua hilo mai au. Au maunawa kia ku mauna o wailuku ku uwai. Ea ko umakumu, aloha akiola I ka halawa ola. So aloha everyone, my name is Lilinoe Kohikawa. I am from Pi'ihonua in Hilo on Hawaii Island. I brought in my mountain source, Mauna Wakea, and my water source, which is the Wailuku River, both in my space, my sacred space, the sources that ground me in my space, and that I bring with me everywhere that I go. I also grew up for part of my life on the continent. So I am very familiar with growing up in spaces where you don't have access to culture. And so one of the things that I'm actually serving as the project manager for this Ohana Center of Excellence. And for me, as someone who has struggled with substance use and mental health for the majority of my life, connecting to culture has really saved my life. And so that is one reason why I'm really, really excited to be a part of this project, to help to bring these cultural healing pathways to all of our communities and give our folks a voice at the table. So mahalo.
Aloha, my name is John Oliver, and I'm with the State of Hawaii Department of Health. And under Adult Mental Health Division, I am the Public Health Program Manager and Service Area Administrator for Maui County, where I lead the Maui Community Mental Health Center with our locations on Maui, Molokai, and Lanai. And a little bit about me. Well, Maui is my home, and I live there with my Ohana, which includes my wife, and we've been together now almost 30 years, and our two keiki, and we have a small farm there with fruit-producing trees. And I'm interested in this work as far as for my experience as far as in behavioral health, I believe has led me here. I have 20 plus years experience, but then also personally, I'm also very vested in this work. As I shared, my wife and I've been together now for 30 years, and she identifies as being half Filipinx and half Chinese. And so we have two Hapa children, and we're very happy with them. And for me, really, this kind of, it's about trying to help reduce disparities and sort of to build behavioral health equity for the Asian Americans, Native Hawaiians, and Pacific Islanders. And as a proud father of two beautiful Asian American children, I feel it's my kuleana to try to do everything I can to help make that come true. So thank you very much, and mahalo.
A round of applause for these beautiful people. I don't think you may understand, but the ike and the knowledge that is in this room right now is overwhelming. It's unbelievable, and we're going to share that with you. But we also want to remind you that we want to hear from you as well. So get engaged. You can go on to our menti.com. Go ahead and type 5941-3040, and we want to hear from you. It's right there on the screen, menti.com. Enter the code 5941-3040. You got questions, you got anything you want to share with us. And we're going to try throughout this time to get to your questions. Some of your questions that you may have now, we'll try and get to them and answer them. And we have all these beautiful people here to maybe answer your questions. But in the meantime, we want you to do that hashtag engagement. Don't only hashtag it, but actually do it, my friends. What we want to do right now is, you have to love the knowledge that pours out and looking out for our people, Asian Americans, Native Hawaiians, Pacific Islanders, which we now have to take our canoe and go all the way across the Pacific and meet our California team. So with all this pa'i give them a round of applause all the way over there. Aloha, my friends. Let us know who you are, your responsibility, and what you're doing all the way on the continent.
Great. Well, I'm gonna start. My name is Kathleen Wong Lau, and I am the California team facilitator here on this grant. I am a second-generation Chinese American. I'm the daughter of Cantonese immigrants from Hong Kong who came in the 1950s and 60s and grew up here in the Oakland East Bay. in working class neighborhood. I'm a first generation college student, received my doctorate in intercultural communication. But what I think what's really important in terms of my lived experience is that I spent a good part of my higher ed career living in Arizona, Oklahoma, and Michigan before returning to California. And what I learned was that Asian Americans, Pacific Islanders, and Native Hawaiians in different parts of the continental United States have a very different history and trajectory and presence in different areas, such that being a Californian, often I was told, you just don't understand how things are here. You're from California, you're from the Bay Area. And so you need to sort of understand what our history is and how we have experienced exclusion, how we have experienced empowerment. And so I had to learn. And I think that's one of the lessons that I carry with me in terms of my informed experience. I was excited to have the opportunity to join with the principal investigator, John Oliver, because it was really, I think, innovative to include as the main partner, someone from the state of Hawaii, who was really someone who worked in behavioral health for the state of Hawaii, and that I knew that we would be involving Native Hawaiians and Pacific Islanders. And so I'm just going to briefly say my motivation, for two main motivations. One was to make sure that I used my Asian Pacific American ethnic studies background to really decolonize all of our relationships as Asian Americanists with Native Hawaiians and Pacific Islanders. I thought that was really important, and it was exciting to have the opportunity to do that when we were writing the grant. The second thing is that for me, disaggregation needs to be done from an emancipatory framework, that we can't just do disaggregation as a form of sort of, value-free inclusion, because many of our communities suffer very differently and are often invisible and sometimes erased by some of the demographics of other people within even our own group. And so ethnic disaggregation needs to be done. And so these are two things that I think are really important for all of our communities. And so I'm really excited about the team, certainly admire, and we've through our retreat got to know the team over in Hawaii as well. And then I'm really excited about my colleagues here who are from San Jose State University, an institution that I worked at. I'm right now at CSU East Bay. So now I'm gonna hand it over to the rest of the team. Thank you.
Hi, kumusta, hafaday, and hello. I am Dr. Joanne Rondilia, and I am the daughter of immigrants from the Philippines who eventually settled in the island of Guam. And Guam is actually the place where I was born and raised in. And so having said that, I do want to take a moment to send love and prayers of safety to the people of Guam who are preparing for Super Typhoon Mawar. Love and safety to all of you. As Kathy mentioned, I am an assistant professor of Asian American Studies and Sociology at San Jose State University, and I am honored to be part of this historic project. My involvement here is quite personal. As a child, someone important to me suffered from depression and eventually took their life. So there was so much silence and shame surrounding this person's passing that it felt like, excuse me, sorry, this person was here one day and then forgotten the next. And so this taught me the importance of communities and families having accessible resources to understand trauma and mental health issues such as depression, bipolar disorder, and substance use. It also illustrated how vital it is that we come together as Asian Americans, Native Hawaiians, Pacific Islanders, and truly a global community to develop a culture of empathy and supportive practices around these issues. Because this, to me, I believe, is the key to our healing. Like many, I experienced how the pandemic impacted everyone's mental health needs, from our elders to small children and to college students whom I spend so much of my time with. And so it is in that spirit that I'm honored to help develop the Ohana Center of Excellence for all of our communities. I turn to you, Lester.
All right, thank you.
Good afternoon, aloha, magandang hapon. My name is Dr. Lester Papa. I'm a second year assistant professor at San Jose State University. I'm also the proud firstborn son of Filipinous immigrants. My mother is from the Ilocos region of the Philippines. My father is from the Bicol region of the Philippines. And so where they met is on the island of Kauai, where I would call home. And so they had raised me and my key siblings there, and I still think of Hawaii quite fondly. It is my place where I call home, and California is quickly becoming my second home. My parents were very big advocates of education, and so they had provided me with lots of opportunities to be able to be educated and to then use that education to be able to help others. And that's what brings me to this project. I am so passionate and dedicated to being able to help improve the lives of youth and their families. And so I'm really so excited and incredibly honored to be able to use all of my training here on the continental US to be able to then provide some direct technical guidance to service providers who will be impacting my community at home and communities here on the continental US as well. And so with that, just a little bit about me, and I will hand it off to.
Hello, everybody. 大家好, my name is Zhang Yi. We say the first name last and last name first in Chinese, so people call me Zhang Yi in China. I was born and raised in China, and in 2007, I came here to the United States by myself to pursue my PhD and MPhD degree in community and behavioral health with a subtrack of health communication here. Witnessing the substance abuse and mental health issues in my family and my close communities, I'm dedicated to prevention as well as providing resources for treatment for Asian AANHPI communities. And the first job out of my PhD program, I work at Asian Health Coalition, a community-based organization to prevent substance abuse among Chinese youth in Chicago, Chinatown. And at that time, I served as a program coordinator, so I got to see the practical sides of how things can be done, like post flyers at the bus stop. So I really enjoyed the experience of applying the knowledge and really make a difference and help my community in real life. And so that's why today is my great honor and pleasure to join the Ohana Center of Excellence, so we can serve our communities and decrease health disparities and promote health equity for mental health services and behavioral health services among AA and HPI communities. And I believe together we can empower our communities and we'll be stronger together. Thank you, everybody.
To our cousins all the way at San Jose State University, Cal State University, San Jose, doing some amazing things across the Pacific, and at the same time, we're all working together. So once again, if you are joining us, welcome, my friends, to the Ohana Center of Excellence, our debut, our kickoff of this amazing project. We want to hear from you as well, menti.com. But speaking of hearing from, let's go ahead and throw it on over to Dr. Mi-Kyung Han and Dr. Kyung-Mi Choi.
Hello, my name is Mi-Kyung Han. I'm a professor at the School of Social Work at San Jose State University. Originally from South Korea, I came to the United States to pursue higher education in social work as an international graduate student. After receiving my doctoral degree, I joined the San Jose State University, where I had been working ever since as a first-generation immigrant. My primary area of interest has been centered around mental health issues, family violence, and the impact of trauma with a specific focus on Asian Americans. In recent years, I had been primarily working towards enhancing behavioral health services for Asian Americans. More specifically, my main focus is to combat mental health stigma, improve services for family members of individuals with serious mental illnesses, and collaborate with community-based organizations to provide culturally sensitive and competent programs. Through my work, I have noticed a significant shortage of behavioral health resources and services that take into account the distinct cultural and linguistic variations among Asian Americans. Therefore, I feel deeply honored to be a part of Ohana Center of Excellence. Through my work with Ohana, I'm dedicated to improving behavioral health services for the well-being of AANHPI individuals, families, and communities. I would like to thank everyone who is participating in today's event because we are here to reaffirm our commitment to work together to enhance the quality of life of AANHPI. Thank you.
안녕하세요. 제 이름은 최경미입니다. 저는 한국에서 태어나서 자랐고 미국에는 22년 전에 오게 되었습니다. 현재 산호세 주립대학에서 상담학 석사 과정을 가르치고 있습니다. Hello, my name is Kyungmi Choi, a professor in counselor education at San Jose State University in California. Originally from South Korea, I moved to New York State about 22 years ago. Within my role, I serve as a steering committee facilitator and program specialist. Drawing upon my academic background and personal experiences in mental health programs and services, I'm thrilled to collaborate with this exceptional team of individuals from diverse cultural and linguistic backgrounds, each with their unique expertise. My primary responsibility involves close collaboration with the community organizations and mental health services in the Northeast region of the US. My areas of expertise includes training and educational mental health professionals, designing curriculum and programs focused on social and emotional learning and self-care, addressing the needs of LGBTQI+ populations, and promoting intercultural understanding. My goal for Ohana Center of Excellence is to identify the mental health needs and provide culturally empowering resources for Asian American, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Islander communities. I look forward to connecting with all of you through our workshops and programs over the next 5 years.
My friends, mahalo for being here. AANHPI Ohana Center of Excellence, our debut. We are here online. We have people in studio. If you're joining us, we like to thank you. We want to know where you're joining us from. Menti.com, enter the code. You see it right there on the screen. There you go. See it on the screen. We want to know. We want you guys to get involved and get engaged with us. We want to hear from you. We want to hear your ideas. We want to hear your knowledge. Because, you know, as you can tell, the passion and the emotion that every one of these people have in the field of work that we do, you can feel it. And it's important to us. So we want to hear from you as well, because we have to make sure we are fully represented in this field of mental health and behavioral therapy and addiction and all these things that we have to help our people with. So think about this. It is the month for Asian Americans, Native Hawaiian, Pacific Islanders. So many events are going on, but we want to make sure that we are represented the way we should be represented. You know, a lot of times you hear data and studies and things, and you always hear underrepresentation of our people. So we want to make sure that you are represented. So get involved, menti.com. Share with us where you're from, all of our service providers as well. If you're online right now and you're joining us, service providers, MDs, DOs, everyone in this field, we want to hear from you. That's what this is all about. That's why we have the Center of Excellence. What we want to do right now, speaking of, we've got Substance Abuse Mental Health Services Administration. They are a huge part of our Ohana, and we want to hear from the director of the Office of Behavioral Health Equity. So we're going to throw it over, if we can, to Tenley Bates.
Greetings. Kia ora, kia orana, talofa lava, malo elele, pakalofa niue, levanaka, takalota lohani, aloha, kumusta, lehoma, nihama. Hello. Okay, I will stop there. That was my best attempt to say hello to everyone. Please forgive me for not saying the greetings perfectly or in all of the Asian American, Native Hawaiian, Pacific Islander languages, but I wanted to acknowledge how important it is to SAMHSA, the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration, that we include and serve all of our populations, including the Pacific Islands, Hawaii, and the rest of the 50 states, territories, and jurisdictions that make up the United States. It is my great pleasure to be here, albeit virtually, to launch the first Center of Excellence in Behavioral Health for Asian Americans, Native Hawaiians, and Pacific Islanders, also known as the AANHPI Ohana Center of Excellence. The diversity and cultural richness of the Asian American, Native Hawaiian, Pacific Islander diaspora and communities are incorporated in the work of this AANHPI Ohana Center of Excellence. In order to be effective, it is important to work with the community leaders, community members, local, county, and state level systems, and of course, behavioral health care and healthcare providers to create a positive behavioral health outcome within the AANHPI communities. SAMHSA's National Survey on Drug Use and Health, or NSDUH, NSDUH, recently released its 2021 data. It showed that among Asian people aged 12 and older, 5.3 million, or 32% of the population, used alcohol in the past month. And out of the 5.3 million, 1.8 million, or 33.4%, were considered heavy alcohol users. And out of that, 18.1% of this group had binged alcohol. Among Native Hawaiian and Pacific Islanders, 318,000, or 31% of the population, used alcohol in the past month. And out of the 318,000 alcohol users, 57,000 were considered heavy drinkers in the past month. So when we look at mental illness for Asian adults 18 and older, the prevalence of mental illness was highest among the ages of 18 to 24 for having any mental illness and serious mental illness. Among Native Hawaiian and other Pacific Islanders, 2 in 11 adults had any mental illness within the past year. When we look at past year serious thoughts of suicide, suicide plans, or suicide attempts, many Asian Americans, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Islander adolescents did not want to answer questions about suicide, which suggests that some of the adolescents could have had these thoughts but did not feel comfortable disclosing that information. Many of you may already be familiar with this data and are working in this field, or you may be a person with lived experience in recovery, or you have a family member, a friend, or a loved one who may be experiencing behavioral health problems. Our hope and goal with establishing the Center of Excellence is to advance the behavioral health equity of Asian American, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Islander communities. This center will develop and disseminate culturally informed, evidence-based behavioral health information and provide technical assistance and training on issues related to addressing behavioral health disparities in our communities. The Asian American, Native Hawaiian, Pacific Islander Ohana Center of Excellence will serve as a resource to behavioral health providers, community-based and faith-based organizations, research institutions, and federal entities. We hope and expect that this program will help reduce the impact of behavioral health-related disparities on our communities. At the heart of all that you do, family is really at the center, and we want to incorporate Ohana in the work as we continue to help our communities address stigma, access to culturally responsive and appropriate behavioral health services, and to heal from trauma and grow in resiliency, health, and wellness. Again, I want to congratulate the Asian American, Native Hawaiian, Pacific Islander Ohana Center of Excellence, and I look forward to the incredible work that's being done. Congratulations. Thank you. Mahalo.
Maybe that will work if I turn on my microphone. Now you guys can hear me. That was just seeing if you guys were paying attention, because I sure wasn't. Now, again, if you are joining us, thank you so much for being here. The Ohana Center of Excellence, we are kicking it off. We are sitting with some incredible people, all of our cousins from the Asian, American, Native Hawaiian, Pacific Islander communities. Now, the website, if you want to learn a little bit more about the project, AANHPI/ or would that be a dash or a slash? You know what I mean. Ohana, AHANA.org. Go to that website, make it one of your favorites. We want to hear from you as well. Again, those of you that work in this field of behavioral medicine and anything in this field, we want to hear from you. So menti.com, 594-1340. You see it on the screen. We want you to get engaged and get involved. Speaking of that, we're going to continue on with, and we want to hear from you. In fact, I think I may have heard from some people. Maybe we'll do this real quick. So we got a question from chat. What solutions can you address for mental health support for our elders, especially those currently living in senior subsidized housing complexes? Now, for those of you online, those of you in the room, think about that question. We're going to say it one more time. So the question is, what solutions can you address for mental health support for our elders, especially those currently living in senior subsidized housing complexes? We're going to get to that. We're getting that answer. We're going to get together, but what we want to do first is we want to hear a little bit more about this project. Just a quick overview of this project, the reason why we're here. So we're going to turn it over to our project manager, and I got to mahalo you for letting me be a part of this. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, look, it's Lily Noy.
Aloha nui, mahalo makani. So aloha mai kako again, Lily Noy Kohikawa, project manager for the Ohana Center of Excellence. So I just wanted to start off a little overview of the project for folks. One of the things that we kind of noticed when we started embarking on this journey of developing this Center of Excellence is that a lot of us have seen these AANHPI projects, events, we think we just have seen many of them over the course of this month again. And oftentimes these projects or events focus primarily on Asian Americans, and our Native Hawaiian and Pacific Islander Ohana gets left out of the conversation or left out of the having a voice at the table, and representation matters, right? So one of the things that we really, really aim to do with this project is to create that equal voice for our Native Hawaiian and Pacific Islander partners to be a part of the conversation, to provide their input, to provide their guidance as we continue to develop this center. So I want to actually quickly go to one of our Mentimeter slide 3 to look at what folks answered. So we asked folks, actually the next one, mahalo. And so we asked folks, the last AANHPI event or project that you saw or were a part of, were Native Hawaiians and Pacific Islanders well represented? And so it looks like kind of about halfway on that one. That's great. We want to see more and increased representation amongst all of our projects. And again, that's going to be a main focus of what we do here. I want to go also into what some of the rest of the project is going to focus on. So this project is really going to be a hub of culturally specific resources for the communities that we serve. So I want to take a look at slide 4 real quick, where we ask folks, have you ever looked for mental health or substance use resources that were specific to your culture? Can't quite see. I think a lot of it was yes. Okay, great. Mahalo. And then if we could look at the next one. And our next question was, did you find anything? And mostly we got some yeses, more nos, and even more some but limited. So that's kind of what we expected to see. And so I think one of the greatest things that we can start to embark on together, and I mean together as in not just our team, but all of you folks watching, and then hopefully even reaching out even further amongst our networks together, is to really start to build these culturally specific resources and host them on our site. So what we're going to be doing is building this resource hub that folks can actually search by the cultural identities that we hold. So what I think about for my own self is when I was younger and dealing with my own mental health and substance use issues, living on the continent at the time, really disconnected from my own culture, what it would have meant for young me to be able to find resources through something like this and connect culturally and find that healing would have meant it would have meant the world to me. So I think that's one of the most amazing things that we can do through this project. Additionally, we'll be providing webinars and trainings based on the feedback that you folks give to us. We'll be creating culturally tailored webinars, and we'll be providing, again, also technical assistance that will be able to provide, again, culturally tailored. So a lot of resource development is going to go into this project. And I'm going to go ahead and ask if we have any service providers joining us right now, if you can drop your information into the chat so that we can add it to our resource hub. If you folks take a look at our website as well, you can add your own resources on them so we can create together this way for our folks to find these healing pathways near them. And I want to go ahead and pass it to John Oliver to share a little bit more.
Thank you, Linoy. So one really important aspect about the Center of Excellence are the regional steering committees. And that came about pretty much because the behavioral health needs of Asian Americans, Native Hawaiians, Pacific Islanders, they very much vary depending on where they are living within the United States or in the US APIs. So by having regional committees, we're able to better inform the center as far as what the pressing behavioral health needs are of the communities that we serve. And so I welcome you all to go to our website and AANHPI-ohana.org and read more about our regional steering committees, where you can also go on there and fill out the request form and to potentially join one. And from our regional steering committee, we will be forming our national steering committee as well. And so with that, I welcome you all. And I also welcome you to visit our website, where you will find a place where you can find information about the Ohana Center of Excellence, our team, and how you can get involved with the regional steering committee and request training and technical assistance. And we have also launched a beta website, and where it's a resource directory that we are seeking community input to expand. So if you go to our website's resources page and browse resources by topic and location, you can also learn how you can participate. And lastly, we actually invite you to join us on social media. We are active on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and YouTube. And you can find us on all three at Ohana Center of Excellence, or go to our website and get the links. And with that, I'm actually going to send it over to Kathy in California to tell us a little bit more.
Great. Thank you, John. I just want to state that we are broadcasting from the CSU East Bay campus here in Hayward, and actually not from San Jose State, although we have members of San Jose State here, which is a sister campus. So I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the other things that we're going to do out of the Center of Excellence. And one of them is that we are really part of our charge, and what we're doing is building an infrastructure so that we can really continually assess community and provider needs. And so we're going to be doing quarterly environmental scans. A lot of the information will come in through our regional facilitators. Some of the facilitators are sitting right here. We have other facilitators that are part of the group. And so they work within the 7 regions to collect information as they meet regularly with people who are part of the regional steering committees. We'll process that information, and that will be part of our environmental scan. And of course, we'll always be continually researching to look at what are some of the critical issues that are going on across the continental United States, over in the associated Pacific Islands, as well as over in Hawaii. And so we're really interested in making sure that we have as many avenues as possible through our social media, as well as through our Center of Excellence website, so that we can, again, have information that comes in that informs our strategies, as well as the resources that we're building out. We also are, I think, our proximity to Silicon Valley has given us an ability to connect with a software company that is really innovative in terms of providing language accessibility, and that, and we're not advertising for them, but the company is called Kudo. But what we'll be able to do is to be able to provide with notifications. So when we send out our future online workshops, people can request specific languages, and they will pair the Zoom link to the different languages with live translators. So the interpreters will be people who are live and it's not AI software. And so people on Zoom who attend the online webinars will be able to click for their languages and click through any language and be able to hear that. After that, we will be able to retain those separate video recordings in languages separately and keep those on a permanent archive so that we will have some of our key workshops available in specific languages. We can do up to, I think, 40 something languages, and it's just a matter of giving them time to be able to locate that. So that's something that we think is especially a challenge for our communities when we think of the many languages that we have in Asian American, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Islander communities, that many particularly are elderly and recent immigrants. Many people are language isolated, and so we want to make sure that we're able to use those language services for people. The last thing, and so I think that Makani, I think I'm going to hand it over to you to talk about a couple of slides, and then I'll return and finish. Thank you.
Kathy, all the way out there in California. Again, we'd like to thank our friends all the way in California. I know we have some people calling also online. White and we've got some friends from, I believe, Pennsylvania and Georgia. So mahalo. Federal Bureau of Prisons, I think, is on as well right now. So do me a favor, get on your phone, social media, tell all your friends it's happening right now. Center of Excellence, Ohana Center of Excellence, we want to share with you so much we want to share with you, but we also want you to share with us. Again, menti.com, we want you to get engaged. We still got a few questions we're going to get your answers to. So if you have any questions, any concerns, jump on that, menti.com. The number's right there on the screen. We want to continue on, ladies and gentlemen. I'm so humbled and privileged to introduce this next person. She is a licensed clinical psychologist, executive director of Iolalahui, a nonprofit organization that provides behavioral health services to medically underserved Native Hawaiian and rural communities. How's about a round of applause, my friends? Pa'ipa'i kolima, Dr. Aukai Austin.
What did it was supposed to be?
Mahalo for that wonderful introduction. I'm so happy to be here today to celebrate the opening of the Ohana Center of Excellence. And I have Dr. Sherry Daniels. Is she around?
Hi.
She was going to join me.
I am.
Hi. So this is the first thing to know about Hawaii. You were talking about regional specific things. So hello there.
Aloha. I think we should let folks know that we know each other, and it's probably not a smart thing to put us together, because I gotta say, mahalo Makani for introducing her, because I had my little notation of what, how to be hospitable.
All my elemental P's, yes.
Right. But I gotta give a shout out to Pohai out in the audience listening in, because she's like, you're her shiro. And I'm like, what? Okay, he's mine. So, I think what people need to recognize, especially in our community, it's small. We all know each other, and we cannot help but uplift and use each other in spaces and in opportunities that can help our people and our community. So I'm super, super excited, because when we get to share space like this, I want to uplift you and awamo all the things that you're doing, because you're doing plenty for our lahui here in Hawaii. But I think also part of this center is to plant the seeds to help grow or, create space for this information to spread across into other spaces where our communities are, not just here in Hawaii, but we know that our Kanaka are transversing the world, especially across the Pacific.
And we're very sure we're the center of the universe in general here in Hawaii Nei, and that we love the Kanaka of the diaspora and all that, and our arms reaching out to them. This Ohana Center of Excellence is one of the ways that we can really specifically, concretely address their needs, address their desire to really, as Lilian was sharing, if you want to be embraced and have your providers, your health system, the resources available to you, see you, Kanaka Hawaii, see you and your worldview and your culture in part of the care they provide. This is the beginning of that conversation. So this is so exciting. And mahalo, Sherry, to you and all of the folks at Papaolokahi that make this possible. It's such an exciting day to be reaching out and knowing all the cool things we get to do now. We've all been putting our head down in the areas we're in and trying to do the good work, and you bringing us all together, and to be able to expand and amplify exponentially our impact is just amazing, and so stoked. So thank you all for inviting me, because I'm really excited to be on board. You know this, and as usual, Sherry has dared me into the water in a new space, instead of me letting me just keep my head down in my lane. But this is absolutely a passion for me. As you know, I've spent my life working in behavioral health and workforce development and training in this area. And so I'm so thankful to have found the like-minded souls here at Papa that put this work together.
Well, and we were expanding your like-minded soul knowledge, because we have our partners over in California who are just as passionate around this, and you get to meet John from the Department of Health, because I think if it wasn't every one of us having this passion and commitment and finding each other and bringing together our teams, our Hawaii team, and being very intentional, it's really hard to make it happen. And I think now that we've brought it together, for me, it's how do I engage partners like you and others across the country that have the same passion, so that we can say this, strong and proud and loud to our funders, especially, SAMHSA and our other partners that want to help us recognize that. And so it's not just now finding the people, it's, okay, now we got to do the work even more so. Yeah. And we got to see how this sustains, how this can live on in the generations beyond us. And I think culturally, that's super important. And you know that, right? It's not about us. We're just the conduits for our kupuna and that ike. And now how do we make sure that this sustains for our mo'opunas and beyond? And I think that's really important.
Yeah, I think I knew from the beginning, when I was like, what am I going to be when I grow up? That I knew I could sit in a chair and do therapy every single day, all day long, with people in front of me, and that still wouldn't be a big enough impact. And so understanding my role in the larger system of how to teach others how to do this work, about deepening my own understanding. I'm still a practitioner. And then extending that beyond to reach others, to empower the ones who are ready, the ones that have the heart to serve, but also get the care where it's needed, has always been the bigger idea. Everybody always asks, by the way, what's up with Hawaiian mental health? What does it mean that we want culturally responsive services? Why do we need all that? Or why is Hawaiian mental health and substance use rates so much higher than other people? Those of our cousins in Indian country experience the same kind of conversations, right? That's a thing. And so what I always tell them, well, I don't know, I've been working on the answer for a couple of decades now, but is sure. One way we can look at it is we can understand that there are specific social determinants of well-being that affect Native Hawaiians at a greater proportion than other people. So is it that we need more because the same thing causes issues for us that cause issues for other people? Or is it something different going on with Kanaka, with our indigenous folks? Is there something unique about the way our mental health and our well-being and our worldview has been affected? And so I want to say the answer has always been a yes and. Wouldn't you say? Sure. For some of it, it's the same things like poverty, access to economic resources. Housing is a very big deal here in Hawaii. It's those same factors that put pressures on families and individuals that create the climate in which mental health and substance use, one goes down and one goes up, and not in a good way. And so we can say, yes, in some ways, it's the same factors that affect other people. And if we just make those things better, things will be better for our people. Absolutely true. And we know that the mental health concerns and rates and levels of Native Hawaiians in the diaspora, where economic opportunities are arguably a little easier, housing is a little more accessible, they're still struggling. So there are things that also affect us that have to do with our history, our cultural trauma, and systemic factors that still occur today that impact Native Hawaiians in a profound and negative way that also bear addressing. But here's the good news. We also have all of that wisdom you were talking about the knowledge of our kupuna, We have the opportunity and now finally a rise among our Hawaiian leadership in sufficient numbers and finding their voice in ways to be able to say, and we know what to do about it in many ways. And so people are always saying, okay, so what is culturally responsive care for Native Hawaiians? Well, I'm going to say for a certain percentage of our people, the services that they need, if we're at the level of like needing services kind of severity, some of them do just fine in regular old Western care and services. Good quality care that comes out of evidence-based programs from SAMHSA, strong organizations that respond and treat the whole person. That stuff works just fine for a certain percentage of our people. And then for others, it really doesn't. And what does that mean? It means greater attrition from those programs. It means higher rates of relapse. It means greater sense of loneliness, what I call walking kaumaha, where you still got to do and get through, but you're sore inside who you are in your soul. And that stuff where they may have even tried Western services and just left because it felt like it just wasn't okay. Or they felt shamed for being there or blamed, much like many of our folks experience with health services more generally, where they show up and they get scoldings and everybody assumes they eat too much rice. And that's why they have a chronic disease condition. It's not simple as that. It's just not as simple as that. And so the reasons for that are complex and storied and numbered, which is why a center of excellence is needed to gather all of that wisdom, both from research and all that they're doing on that side of things, as well as from gathering the experience of practitioners, cultural practitioners and healers, as well as folks trained in the other medicines. And then of course, the wisdom of our kupuna. And I can tell you that while that sounds mysterious, we knew how to heal ourselves, and our way of understanding how health works, where it's not a dichotomy between illness and health, but rather a sense of maintaining balance across domains, that kind of wisdom from our indigenous wisdom that will be inherited from our ancestors is one of the most important pathways to well-being. The other thing that's really vital about understanding our mental health and our well-being is that we're truly not an individualistic sort of oriented, right? We're an allocentric kind of people. And so we, as collectivist cultures go, health is not identified as being a one individual person. If I go, how do you know you're healthy? Nobody says, oh, because my blood pressure is good and all this other stuff, right? What we say is my family's well, my system's doing well, right? So we have all these other ways of knowing that we are well that are far beyond the individual. And so culturally responsive services and understands that and presents it up front in the opportunities for healing, both through cultural forms of healing, Mauliola practices, as well as through sort of Western practices like therapy or other healing methods that embrace and understand the power of that perspective in the worldview that's sitting in front of them. And so I want to say that's probably the two of the pieces or elements of that. When it comes to language appropriate care for Native Hawaiians, ours is a little bit of a different conversation. Olelo Hawaii and the use of it among our people has a lot to do with restoring our identity. And so for us, the importance and impact of Olelo appropriate services, meaning providers that might be fluent in Hawaiian, or at least providers who know enough of our language to be able to allow the person to use the words that are familiar to them, is very vital to the recognition. It's a cue to the other person that you see them and that you recognize where they are standing in the world and how they've chosen to plant their feet. Olelo conveys culture. Language holds culture and values right in it. So when someone uses your name appropriately, that's one of those things about names and naming. That's true for all of AANHPI AA folks, right? Is that the appropriate use of your real name goes a really long way in the value and effectiveness of services. If they say, well, can I call you P instead of using your real name, right? It's Pi'ilani, but you want to call me P. Sorry, we got Maui on the line, so I'm all about Pi'ilani at the moment. But right, so can I call you P? No, you can't. Because if you try to call me P, unless I asked you to call me P, then you don't see me. So language and the recognition and reclamation of culture and identity matter. Because as Indigenous people, ours is to still be here on this earth. And the good news is that using a Hawaiian informed perspective in healing practices, including therapy, which is what I do, I'm a cultural practitioner in other ways, but in terms of my healing practice, I'm not a traditional Hawaiian healing trained practitioner. I'm a psychologist and I know that. But me using that in the way that I heal can help people who don't have koko, who aren't Hawaiian. Because it turns out that indigenous wisdom speaks to the na'au and the core of humans, because it's a way of seeing the world that is much more tuned in to actual nature, like the way the world actually functions. And that all this twisting and turning we did to become, what do we call it, like a modern society, is actually much of what ails us as people. Most of the conditions that make us have to go to the doctor today are things we did to ourselves. They're about the modern lifestyle. They're about the way we move so fast and eat so fast, and how we don't eat food from the aina, and how we believe that the right way to be isolates us from our family all day long. All of those things are different than the way we were born to be with the land and with our identities. Even deciding what to do and what career, which way are we facing on earth? All of those come from a cultural worldview. And so I could go on and on about all those things. I really could. And what's going to be exciting is I believe you guys are going to have programming from the center, from Ohana Center of Excellence, that's going to talk about all of those things. We're really going to go there, which is so exciting. And I guess for today, mine is to celebrate that the role of this in the world serves our people. And by our people, I mean Kanaka Hawaii. I mean all of mine that are of the same Okuahau out there in the diaspora. And I also mean our Asian American and Pacific Islander Ohana. And then there is this larger kako. There are lots of Kanaka allies out there that would respond just as well to this stuff. And so the invitation that you experience from the center is one that says come. It doesn't says come if you've got cred. It says come and learn, because I think that it's meeting this very vital need. And when we talk about migration, for example, the issues start to pull apart when you look at the various groups of people that are represented within the Center of Excellence. So even here, we represent a kind of kako, a lot of people that have different concerns. For us, out migration from Hawaii to other places is one of the issues for our well-being. Where for other folks, it's about migration from a homeland to another place, and then how do you manage being in that other place? And so for me, I go, isn't it cool that we can have such different issues and needs, and yet our pathways to healing and well-being can sit next to each other, because all of these are cultural groups and people that, we're grouped together by outsiders. But even then, I would argue, they all know how to play well with others. And so we've all begun to work together to pay each other, bring up each of their voices, and honor the unique needs and concerns of each of those communities. And again, across the diaspora in various geographies and states and needs and conditions, to try to put those front and center as something worthy of being addressed. And the cool thing is that I think our strategies as a group are actually ones that generalize. And that's something I think I just want to celebrate again here today about how cool it is that the center is doing that. And as a person who is a practitioner myself and doing services in my little corner of the world and training folks and sending them out there into the world to go do the good they can do, that's what I would say is my last sort of wish for everybody there is do the good you can do as far as you can reach. This is not an environment where we're worrying about, but somebody else is going to steal my thunder, do my thing. No. Reach as far as you can reach and help everybody you can help, because we have so much work to do. And it's such an exciting time when all that clarity of vision about what we know we need for each other, what we know we need, we can do if we make it a point to begin to share and train and expand and be brave and go there. So if you're not sure if we mean you, if you're the practitioner who's like, I have koko, but I never learned like the Hawaiian kind stuff because I live too far. And yeah, I joined a halau, but it doesn't feel like enough, or whatever it is. We mean you. Yes, you can. And I think leaning into the offerings from the Center of Excellence is going to be one more way for you to feel connected and grounded, that your piko get to line up and go and all the electricity fly between them. It's going to be wonderful. So do we mean you? Yes. Thank you for coming. Tell your friends. Waikai? Okay. All right. Mahalo nui. I'm going to toss it back.
You guys, listen. Hashtag Ikebombs. Hashtag Ikebombs. I'm here just to host, but look, I'm taking notes. If you're not taking notes right now, and Mahalo, Dr. Aukahi Austin. You guys, let me just sit here and stew for a few minutes. I know that. I mean, you just fed just us knowledge, and this is what it's all about, my friends. Center of Excellence. We have these people. We need you as well. We need your Ike. We need your Manao from everyone in your community, and that's what it's all about. So if you're not taking notes, I'm old school. You can tell I old school because I use paper and pen. But if but if not, I know that this is going to be recorded and there's going to be a playback just in case you didn't catch any of that, or you ran to the kitchen to go get an inu, or you're eating right now. But that's what it's all about. Our Native Hawaiian community. Dr. Aukahi, again, mahalo, mahalo, mahalo for sharing. Dr. Sherry Daniels as well. As busy as she is, she had to hele. So she didn't just like, hey, I'm out. But she had to go take care of some kuleana. So mahalo to Dr. Sherry Daniels as well and Aukahi. So once again, my friends, if you're joining us, Center of Excellence is happening right now. My brain is so excited. I encourage you folks to get engaged. Again, if we can put it up on the screen, menti.com if you want to get involved. I know we had that question earlier, and we're going to get to those answers. We kind of threw it out there if anybody wants to get on the chat. One more time, and we see your questions. We see your questions, so keep them coming. If we don't get to your questions today, we will eventually get to them. We have another question as well. I want everybody online and those in studio to think about this question we got. So Lark is calling from the East Coast and hears more about Asian American, but not so much about Native Hawaiian Pacific Islander. Let me say that again. We hear on the East Coast a lot about Asian American, but not so much about Native Hawaiian Pacific Islander. Think about that, my friends. We need to be represented. Like I kako everything Dr. Aukahi and Sherry, Dr. Sherry Daniels had said is, it's you, wherever you are. So now from our Native Hawaiian perspective, a lot of times, you know, we think of AANHPI. I'm going to get my notebook ready, and you guys need to get your notebooks ready because there is a lot more knowledge to be dropped on us right now. If you think you know, you just don't know. So head over to the website. I am so honored. I'm privileged to be sitting next to, and I can't wait to hear them share with us. Ladies and gentlemen, navigators with Ohana Center of Excellence Project, Atalina Pasi and Teli Matangi. Aloha, talofa, malolele.
All right, well, thank you so much, Makani. So I'm going to go ahead and start. And first off, let me just say this. As a Pacific Islander, I know the way that this is rolling out isn't quite Pacific. As we noted yesterday, it's like we're coming to a barbecue, right? Or we've invited all of you to a barbecue, but then we're asking you to bring the food, which is not Pacific, because usually what happens is we provide the food. So we want to acknowledge that. But along with that, we also want to say to you, this is our opportunity. This is our chance as Native Hawaiians and Pacific Islanders to create a buffet that represents us. And so we understand that maybe this isn't as comfortable as it should be. Maybe we're not giving all of the resources necessary, but that's where we're turning to you, our community, and we're saying to you, how can we amplify your voices? How can we create a resource that represents who you are and where you come from? Because we can't do everything for everyone, but we can at least be a repository that houses it and provides that access to Native Hawaiians and Pacific Islanders wherever you may be. So I'm going to ask you guys to go to my PowerPoint. So the first thing we're going to talk about is, and I have to be honest with you, I'm a Pacific Island Studies student. So that's my background and that's what I'm going to talk about. So we're going to give it just a little second. Sorry, you know how it goes. What kind of you want to sing for us? No, just kidding. Oh, okay. Sorry. I was just going to say, all right, so we're going to start with who are Native Hawaiians and Pacific Islanders. And I think what's important for all of us to recognize is that according to the Office of Management and Budget, especially OMB 15, which was passed in 1997,
it defines Kanaka o Iwi as the indigenous people of Hawaii and Pacific Islanders as persons having origins in any of the original Pacific Island peoples. So that's important to note. So Kanaka and Pacific Islanders were scholars. They were navigators, they were skilled artisans, healers, and people whose livelihoods are deeply rooted in the land. So let's talk about who named the Pacific. Well, we know it's a Portuguese navigator. His name was Ferdinand Magellan, and he named it based on his first experience of entering the Pacific, and he thought that it was calm. Unfortunately, we learned later that was not true, but that name continues to this day. Then we have a European explorer. His name was Jules Sebastian Cesar Dumont, and he came into the Pacific and he named the 3 Pacific subregions, Melanesia, Polynesia, and Micronesia. These names were all based on racist pseudosciences of the time. And unfortunately, while the science has progressed, those names have not changed. So as an example, Melanesia is based on the color of a person's skin, melanin, which means the dark Pacific, Polynesia, many islands, and Micronesia, small islands. So while we have internalized those names, we also need to recognize that they may be problematic. Next slide. So this is a map of the Pacific. And if you look at it, you can see that Hawaii is part of the Pacific. And so we recognize and honor our Native Hawaiian cousins, if you will. And what we want to highlight of this is that the delineation is because of geopolitical reasons, and it's not because they're not part of our Pacific Islander community. It's also important to recognize that when we use umbrella terms such as Micronesia, Melanesia, or Polynesia, this hides health disparities. There is no Micronesian language. There is no Melanesian language. There is no Polynesian language. Next slide, please. The Pacific is not monolithic. It is diverse, and it has many different languages, cultures, and beliefs. We need to recognize this, and we need to amplify those messages. Next slide. And for this, I'm going to turn the time over to Atalina Pasi.
O tua olangi, pela mo ki motolu kotoa I whalani. Pela mo ki motolu kotoa o ku whanongo mai I he ope. Kai ata ki a te au ki o whakahoko atu e ku whatongia. In the Tongan culture, it's very important that we acknowledge our higher being and acknowledge all of you for being here and listening to all that we have to share about the importance of culture and language. A well-known Tongan proverb says, "Whangota ki he kato ava." The literal translation is fishing into a basket with holes. While we can have skills and curriculum to service our communities, we need to remember the basic needs, and that is culture and language. Next slide, please. Cultural humility and community engagement means meeting communities where they are, where they live, learn, work, or play in a way that is representative of their beliefs, values, languages, and cultural practices. Dr. Sione Vaka expressed it perfectly when he explained, if you ask anyone what they had for lunch, they will say exactly what they had for lunch. For example, fish and chips. If you ask a Tongan, they will tell you that Samisi got a new car and he came to my house to pick me up, and they went to town and they saw Mele, whose daughter just had a baby. And at the end of the story, or Tala Noa, they will mention, we ate fish and chips. It is those cultural nuances and understandings that are of utmost importance when engaging with Tongan as well as Pacific Islander communities. A well-known quote from a South African leader, Nelson Mandela, goes like this: if you talk to a man in a language he understands, that goes to his head. If you talk to him in his language, that goes to his heart. A well-known Cook Islands proverb says, to embrace my heritage, my language lives on. During the pandemic, next slide, please. During the pandemic, I was blessed to fill the role as community health worker for Keola Mamo in Ko'olauloa. I'm partnering with amazing grassroots organizations like the Hui Foundation, Hui Ohaula. In 2020, during the pandemic, we saw the need for food. We were able to reach out to different resources. In 2021, in the midst of the pandemic,
One of the most extreme floods occurred in Ko'olaloa and on the North Shore of Oahu. Homes were destroyed and belongings of families were swept away. It was in this time that we saw our Native Hawaiian and Pacific Islander communities pull together, and in Native Hawaiian Pacific Islander fashion, they were able to kako'o and malama each other. And the state of Hawaii and the city and county of Honolulu were very impressed because before they could gather their resources, our Native Hawaiian and Pacific Islander communities were on the ground running, helping, providing flood relief efforts. Next slide, please. Also during the pandemic, we were able to reach out to Aloha Harvest, Ham and Seafood Produce, Salvation Army, Malama Meals, and many more partners to provide food, mobile showers, and all kinds of resources for our communities. As one of the focuses of the Center of Excellence is to assist communities in creating an online resource center for behavioral health services. Behavioral health services, much like the natural disasters and public health emergencies highlighted, are an ongoing issue for Pacific Islanders. In comparison to mental health, the work I've been blessed to do in my communities is easy. Running food distributions, flood efforts, mobile showers for our houseless is small kind. We see these issues and we know how to address them. Mental health is not so visible. For example, I'm a mother, and I just had my last baby in January of this year. With a flood of hormones, emotions, and moods, am I going crazy? No, it's called postpartum depression. In my community, I have classmates in front of 7-Eleven asking for money and asking for food. I teach my kids that they are brothers and sisters and need our support. But where is the support? How do we help them? So it is my hope and my plea that we are able to come together as a Lahui, as people of the Pacific, and Asian Americans as well, to provide culturally appropriate in-language behavioral health services to help our brothers and sisters. Mahalo.
Okay. Deep breath, everybody. Deep breath. Wipe those tears away. All right. I am going to share a proverb for Samoans. Oh my goodness. Okay. Sorry. I got to get it together. Thank you, Atalina. E fofo ele alamea le alamea. This means the remedy for the toxic sting of the crown of thorn starfish is the crown of thorn starfish itself. I think what's important to remember here is that the solutions for the problems that our communities are experiencing can be found within the community. Next slide, please. Oftentimes, during the COVID-19 pandemic, I was part of the Department of Health, public health efforts. And one of the issues that we identified very early on was that Native Hawaiians and Pacific Islanders were overrepresented in case counts and deaths. And one of the solutions that they decided was they needed diversity. And so oftentimes when we talk about diversity, we hear a popular colloquialism that says diversity is being invited to the party, inclusion is being asked to dance. So if you look at the slide, those are 32 Native Hawaiians and Pacific Islanders, as well as Filipino community members. They are CHWs who spoke their languages, who understood their culture, and who stood up and said, I will help. What's important to note is that with them, we were able to make a difference because when they called, my favorite story is that they knew how to talk to their community members. So we had one in particular, he was Marshallese, and we had to ask if they were obese. So if you know Pacific Islanders, that doesn't really mean anything to them. And so when he would call them, he would say, are you fat or are you fat like me? And everyone would always start laughing. But what they didn't realize is that through that conversation, he was able to make them comfortable, but also figure out, are they more at risk? And if they're more at risk, how many more times do I need to call them a day? And because they were able to provide that information, he was able to provide those resources. Next slide, please. What we also need to recognize is that to improve and address the needs of individuals and build healthy communities, we must recognize and provide safe spaces for culturally appropriate engagement and language assistance for the many diverse communities we serve. This was our first mobile clinic. We had it at a church, and we had community members who were there, community health workers who provided in-language and culturally appropriate engagement. We sang songs, we held hands, we translated and interpreted forms as necessary, and we met the community where they were at. I can't tell you how many times we had people come up to us and tell us, I wasn't going to get vaccinated until I saw all of you. And so through that interaction, we understood the importance of being where the community needed us to be and of offering those services in their own language. Next slide. Along with that, we also understood that we needed to connect community members with much needed resources and social services. Well-being isn't just about being healthy. It's also about the social determinants of health. What are we doing to support them in their journey? Whether it's providing food, housing, Christmas gifts, support, or online resources that, again, no matter where you are in the world, you can say, you're Tongan, you're Samoan, you're Marshallese, let me direct you to this space. Next slide, please. And then what we want to talk about is centering our community. During COVID, we came up with, as we were part of the NHPI 3R, no kako, na kako. For us, by us. For Samoans, Samoa mo Samoa. What does this mean? This means that we need to engage with community organizations. We need to leverage existing institutional resources, and we need to partner with trusted experts. And that's really where we're going to rely on all of you, because you are the trusted experts within the community. You are the community organizations. And then we're going to go to SAMHSA, and we're going to go to the Department of Health for the state of Hawaii, and we're going to say, fund us. And we're going to say, pay us so that we can speak our language and so that we can practice our culture. All right. And we'll go ahead and end that PowerPoint. So going back to your question, Makani, go ahead and ask it one more time.
You guys, that was, again. Oh, if you cannot feel the passion and the emotion in what we all do, you hug your screen right now. Just hug it. You gotta feel it. You gotta feel it. Let me go back to that question from the East Coast. A lot of times we hear more about the Asian American, the AA, but not so much about NHPI, Native Hawaiian Pacific Islander. Can you share some of the major mental health issues for Pacific Islanders in the Pacific and those on the continental US?
So I think when we think about this, Atalina and I were talking about this, and oftentimes when Pacific Islanders are asked to talk about their mental health, they don't. You know, if we break a leg, if we get sick, we go to the emergency room. But if we're struggling mentally, oftentimes we stay in our own spaces because we don't know how to ask the questions. We don't know what to say. Or if we do, we're too embarrassed. And so I think we have to really address those stigmatisms within our own communities. And we need to say, if you're struggling, it's okay. If you don't feel like you belong, it's okay. I know that a lot of times I hear, especially because I'm Afakasi, imposter syndrome. Am I really a Pacific Islander because I was born on the continent or because my mom is not a Pacific Islander? And what I had to understand and what I had to really come to terms with is I'm okay being half. And I'm okay. That doesn't mean that I'm any less Samoan than anyone else. And that's all right. But that's a struggle, one that many people on the continent understand because you feel disconnected. And in that disconnect, you can feel alone. And if you feel alone, then oftentimes you turn to self-medication, which can lead to addictive behaviors such as drinking or drugs or whatever it may be. And so how do we create support systems that say it's all right? I mean, today, as Atalina and I were sitting here and we were talking about how to introduce ourselves, I struggled with, well, if I say my name in Samoan, if I introduce in my Samoan, am I going to sound like a Palangi person? And if I sound like a Palangi person, how's that going to go over? And so instead, I just did it in English. And so, you know, these are the hard conversations. And one thing that I always say is, let's get comfortable with being uncomfortable. If it makes you feel uncomfortable, you're probably having a conversation you need to have. And then how do you move past that and find solutions for that? And I think you could talk about like the North Shore area.
I think one of the main issues with especially Pacific Islanders, so I'm Tongan. So Dr. Vakalahi, she explained it well when she went to the 2020 census. I think it was a convention, and they did not have an organization to represent the Tongan people. So it's about infrastructure. So for instance, I think there is an organization that is trying to get their papers together to become a 501c3, but they're not yet there. So this is where the Center of Excellence comes in. So this is an amazing repository where we don't have to have the infrastructure yet, but we can go ahead and contribute to the Center of Excellence and have all the information, curriculum, whatever's been working for my Tongan people can live there until our infrastructure is ready. But we are just as important as any other Pacific Islander. And that is why it's important for us to represent ourselves and to bring all of our, in Hawaiian, it's called mana'o, and our wisdom so that we can share and we can work together. Malo.
I don't know about you guys, but my Shiro list is getting bigger. 2 more, other 2. So if you are joining us, mahalo, 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 you guys, for sharing a Pacific Islander view. We just learned some things. You know, I encourage you folks, I just took another couple pages of notes. You know, I take all these things and the things that we share with you, we hope that, you know, whether you're a traditional healer, indigenous healer, whether you come from the Western side of medicine as well, we encourage you to parallel the 2, work the 2 together. And that's what it's all about. So if you are joining us, Ohana Center of Excellence, we are kicking it off right here. So much you can learn. The website, AANHPI ohana.org if you want more information about us, or you can hit up the menti.com QR code 59413040. Those of you that are old school and you're like, what is that over there? That's a QR code. Or you can just go to menti.com, because you know there's some people like, what is that? And just take out your phone right on there. We're going to continue to share with you, my friends. Now, what we want to do, we're going to continue on and introduce you to some people that are just so important in this project and what we're doing. Director of Health Careers Opportunity Program at the University of Hawaii, Manoa. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm humbled and I'm privileged to be sitting next to introduce to you Dr. Agnes Malate.
Aloha.
Aloha.
Magandang hapon, nembang malamyo. And for those on the continent, magandang gabi and nembang garabi amin. Tinagang ko kit Agnes Malate. And then for those who are in Guam, actually, that last name is more familiar to them because they said in Chamorro, it means smart. I tried to discover what that means in Filipino, but no one knew. And this is such an opportunity. Thank you so much. I'm just learning so much from everyone here today. And the first thing for those of you who are not here in our space is that when I first came in, I saw all the shoes were taken off. And I said, oh, this is definitely going to be a different environment and different setting. And then I came up and then I saw everyone here. I am a 1.5 generation immigrant from the Philippines, 1.5 because I came here when I was younger. And I actually did come on a ship. And so for those of you who are trying to figure out what my age is, I'm actually younger than when there were no airplanes. But that journey on the ocean, landing on the shores of Hawaii, the one thing my uncle did, which I found very unusual then and now, is that when we got to Waipahu, where we reunited with my family, he took a glass of water and he mixed it with soil. And today, as we're talking about the Aina and being part of the land and how important that is, I realize now that as the water and the soil, it tasted very gritty, but it became part of me. And in many ways, that's kind of like my introduction to this new land that became our home, where my family settled. So if many of you might know that Filipinos, they're all over the place, the diaspora. And in Hawaii, we have a lot of Filipinos. 1 in every 4 are probably have some Filipino, if not pure. And so for immigrants, in Hawaii, we have a high percentage of immigrants as well. It's about quarter of the residents here. And they are very much part of the major workforce in Hawaii. They are health professionals, they're health aides, they are hotel workers, they are all in service restaurant industries. And why is that important to us? When pandemic hit, that was probably summer is when we were beginning to hear Filipinos have the highest mortality rate. Of course, in terms of numbers, Pacific Islanders definitely has been hit the hardest. And so we looked around us and said, oh, who's helping the Filipinos? Is there a coordinated effort to help the Filipinos? There wasn't any. And so it was through that discussion. Well, actually, I should backtrack. During that time, that 2020, right, it was the census complete count committee. There was a Filipino effort, but the first event happened just before our state closed down. So we had to think and be resilient and figure out how are we going to communicate and how we're going to get the information out to our community. So what we did was we went on the radio. There's actually KNDI is the ethnic radio station. There are 14 languages that are broadcasted on this station, Pacific Island languages, Asian languages. So that was the way we were able to get to the community. And so in terms of cultural, that was a very culturally appropriate way to reach our communities. And so we thought about it, that would be a way we could go. But we were not able to mobilize as quickly. Or actually, you could look at it another way. When we did have the funding at the ending of 2020, we mobilized in 3 weeks because we weren't able to have an organization, Philippine organization, that had the reserve to be able to accept these government funds because there were cost reimbursements. So that was one of the challenges that many, not just the Filipino community, that many of the organizations face. So with the partnerships, this is where the legal clinic was very helpful. They had already moved towards helping the clients, and so helping the Pacific Islanders with food, with just protective equipment, the PPEs. And so what this crystallized for me, is that with our organization, PUSO means heart in Filipino, but this is actually a group of Filipinos Underrepresented Scholars Organization. We had the ideas, but we needed the community, and not just the Filipino community, but there are the others in the community, government as well as grassroots, to be able to mobilize. So what we did, somebody had reached out to us and he said, Agnes, how can I help? And it started with that individual. And soon the Knights of Rizal Hawaii chapter were at every vaccination event, and they were at the testing event. So when we talk about the mental health and the issues, and I wanted to speak to the empowerment of our individuals, our community, because like many of our Pacific Island communities, we don't really talk about mental health issues. Growing up, as a high schooler, and a lot of our youth still experience this. There's that ethnic identity, having for those who immigrate here, and even for the locals, you know, not knowing. See, I'm going to get emotional just like everyone else. That's got to be the thing here, because I think what it is we're sharing from our heart. You know, people won't really care about what you know until they know you care about them. And I think that's what made our efforts very successful, is that we had individuals coming, and the Diocesan Congress of Filipino Catholic Clubs, they were one of our definitely key organizations that were part of this. The Knights of Rizal, the Philippine Consulate, General Consulate. And so we all came together, and because one, we want, I mean, if it's who's going to care for us if not ourselves, right? And who better to know what our needs are of the community than ourselves? And so we came together, and our first event was the radiothon. And that was a very powerful way to reach everyone. And for those of us who are helping and volunteering, we were working pretty much from 8 o'clock in the morning till 7 o'clock, and or actually 11 o'clock at night. So that's not unusual. But what we learned from all of this is, if there's a passion, there are people around you. Government came together. We worked with the Pacific Islander communities in Waipahu, the Vietnamese population, or the Thai temple in Pearl City. If there's a common cause, and that's what we learn, we can pull together and we can work together. And I think in terms of the mental health, often a lot of times, religion, Catholicism is very important, and it's an important social system for sure. But also we shy away from talking about these health issues. I've been told, when I was a youth, when I tried to bring up my personal concerns about mental health and peer pressure, it's very strong in our youth, more so now during the pandemic. I was told, "Are you crazy?" This was from a very loving a family member. And then when a family member was going through caring for two elderly grandmothers, one who lived to be 110 and the other one 97, and she'd reached out and she'd say, "I'm going to kill myself." And that is so jarring. And, she expressed that. That was the only way she was able to express. Although sometimes Filipinos will say that. I'm not to stereotype, but they will say, "I'm going to kill," and just because they are not aware of what these services might be. But with the pandemic, I am so grateful that we've been able to connect with these many organizations, and with Pacific Islanders, with the government. I mean, definitely Native Hawaiians. They have a healthcare system where they are able to merge the Western medicine with the indigenous ways of healing. I work with the Imihola program at the John E. Burns School of Medicine, and I've been fortunate, as I'm hearing all these terms, there are all these beautiful words that's being uttered, that I was also in that environment. And then I think in terms of mental health and services for Filipinos, we are in that one boat. And then if we paddle together, we will be able to better serve our community. And I'm just thank you for this space to be able to share with everyone across the ocean and in Hawaii. I appreciate it. Mahalo. Just Nina, maraming salamat.
They say our kababayans all the way over there, Dr. Agnes Malate. So if you are joining us again, my friends, thank you so much. Center of Excellence. This is what it's all about. We're sharing knowledge. We're sharing and culture and language. We can't say it enough. Hashtag culture and language. Two very important things when dealing with our communities. So we encourage you guys, whether you work in the indigenous field, the Western, you have to. I encourage you to get involved, engage with us. Before we continue on and introduce you to our next guest, we do have another question that came through. Now, we'll throw this out to the Center of Excellence, so anybody in an earshot of myself. So the question is this. Given the extensive discrimination against the Micronesian community as the newest immigrant community in Hawaii, what ways is the Ohana Center of Excellence ensuring that the services reach the needs of the Micronesian community that is most vulnerable and suffering? So we're going to get to that. If we don't get to your question on screen and on air, we will definitely get to it. So if you have any questions, Menti, again, or if you want to drop it in the chat, let me say that one more time. So those of you that want to possibly answer this question from the center, given the extensive discrimination against the Micronesian community as the newest immigrant community in Hawaii, what ways is the Ohana Center of Excellence ensuring that the services reach the needs of the Micronesian community that is most vulnerable and suffering? So that is the question. Now we want to move on. We want to introduce you to our next guest. Our next guest has worked in public health and healthcare for 25 plus years, is the president of Asian Health Services. Now, I think we're going to virtually get into our virtual va'a, and we're going to head over, I believe, to California. Pa'a, aloha. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Tu Kwach.
Aloha, thank you so much for having me. I'm going to just take a moment to share my screen, and I'm hoping it works. I wish I was able to just talk offhand, but I kind of need my slides. So again, thank you everyone for allowing me into this very special space. And I just wanted to acknowledge the panelists before me and their moving testimonies and all that they shared. Again, my name is Tu Kwach and I work at Asian Health Services. And I was asked to share a little bit about my personal story before I get into the work that I do. So I was born in Vietnam right around the time of the war, the very end of the war. So in 1975, the US, who had been there for a number of years at war, a civil war between the North and South. And so I was born in 1975, and right around that time was the fall of Saigon, where the US was pulling out, not just on Vietnam, but all the other countries that were involved. And so, you know, this is a picture of my siblings and my mom and I was the baby in that picture. Moving forward, the journey really started with what we call the fall of Saigon in 1975, April 30th. Is often referred. And here's just a picture of the chaos that was happening as people knew that they were no longer safe to stay there. And my dad was among those. He had been a soldier trained by the CIA and offered a space to be airlifted out and to be brought to the US. But unfortunately, he couldn't take his family, my mom and my two older siblings and myself. And so right at that moment, through all the chaos and everything, he actually took that moment and turned around and walked through the crowds, and it took him days before he got back to our home. But that was a turning point for us because he wasn't lifted out. He wasn't taken out by boat. He stayed behind for several years later. And because of that, we had to escape Vietnam on a boat several years later, because if we didn't, he would have been put into the education camps and his life would have been at risk, or we may not have seen him for years and years. So in the middle of the night, my mom and dad snuck us out. I was about 4 years old, and we were on a boat for days and days without food and hardly any water. And we ended up being pulled into Indonesia as one of the refugee camps, and lived off and on in the refugee camps for about a year before we were sponsored to the US. And really, when we came to the US, you know, we came to San Francisco airport, and then we settled in San Jose, where there was a growing Vietnamese American community there. And I would say that if folks thought the years during the war and the years in the camps were hard, the resettlement years were quite difficult for us. We spoke no English at the time. We had no money. We relied on public assistance in every way possible. And in thinking about the trauma as well. So even in the early years, I was a child interpreter at the age of 7, 8 for my parents as we navigated the complex healthcare system, the immigration system, all of that. And this is why I decided to work at a federally qualified health center. I ended up working at Asian Health Services after graduating from college, because the patients there reminded me of my own family, particularly my parents. Many of our patients, we were founded in 1974, and many of our patients are limited English proficient. They come from all different parts of Asia. And really our work is really about providing medical, dental, behavioral health, but also addressing the many social determinants of health that our patients face. And many of our staff, the 500 staff, actually come from the communities that we actually serve. Many of us are bilingual, trilingual, multilingual, and really multicultural to really reflect the communities that we serve. This is a picture I always like to show. It's actually one of our general meetings. We would have these meetings every few years, and we would bring about 500 of our patients to our general meeting. And there we would share with them what was the big things that were going on. It could be the Affordable Care Act was coming. It could be, public charge, which was targeting immigrants at the time. And you can see them wearing headsets because we really believe that language was a right and that our patients needed to have that language access, not just in their clinics, but also in getting information that would inform them to make decisions about their healthcare, about their well-being, about things that impacted their family. And so here's a great quote from our former CEO, that the measure of our success is not just about how many patients we see, but how many assert their right to healthcare. And it is the way in which we operate our health center. This is just a graph to show you the different languages that we provide. You have the larger languages like Cantonese, Mandarin, Vietnamese, Korean, but then you get to the smaller communities, which by sheer numbers may say, oh, well, maybe it doesn't require that much staff, but it was really important for us to make sure that every community felt like they had a right to be here. And more lately, we're seeing a growing number of the Arabic community and other communities come through and really reflecting the immigration patterns that are happening across the world. During the pandemic, and I think the other speakers shared so passionately, so much happened. And for the Asian American community, we experienced what we like to say, we were simultaneously blamed for causing the virus and then ignored when it came to providing resources. Much of the data did not disaggregate to show the disparities that our communities were facing. We ourselves saw the fear that was happening, that our communities went underground, not just because they were afraid of the virus, but they were afraid of being attacked. And I can tell you, these numbers we can share with you, but I can say the phone calls I got from my staff saying, this nurse got attacked while coming into clinic. This patient got pushed onto the train tracks. Those are all very real. They were happening every day in the beginning, people getting spat on. And for many ways, we would hear these things. And sometimes there was a lot of gaslighting that would happen. Hey, maybe it's crimes of opportunity. Yes, there are crimes of opportunity, but there were crimes where it was very, very racially motivated. We interviewed a number of our patients and staff who talked about, people calling them all sorts of names as this was going on. And so we started the community healing unit where we said, hey, instead of just taking care of our patients, if anyone had some kind of violence attack on them, we would take them in and we would provide them with trauma-informed mental health services. We would provide them with other forms of case management, resource navigation. We would just be the one-stop shop. And to date, we have provided the mental health, we have provided the linguistic and culturally competent support, but we've also offered alternative ways of healing, yoga, Tai Chi, walking groups and such for our community, art therapy. And it was really important. To date, I think we've helped about 200 individuals. And many times for our communities, it was not just the violent attacks that they were experiencing or the violence at hand, but often it would trigger past trauma from, escaping the country, about violence, about watching their own families get killed in the past. So it was really important that we really thought about that our therapists and our staff would provide that kind of support. And this last slide just shows the robust mental health programs that we have shaped. As a federally qualified health center, we provide the primary care integrative behavioral health that is co-located with our medical care. But we also have a specialty mental health unit that can provide care for the moderate to severe patients who are on that spectrum. And then we started the community healing unit because we just needed to really care for the victims of violence as well. And lastly, we recognized that there's a workforce issue. And so pipeline development was really key for us, as well as recognizing that it's not just the licensed mental health providers, but really investing in those who are lay mental health counselors who are bilingual and bicultural and can serve that community. And with that, I thank you very much for having me here.
Oh, mahalo, 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 Doctor. Thank you so much for joining us all the way over there. So again, my friends, if you are joining us, thank you for being here. Ohana Center of Excellence, our very first day. You know, I don't know if you guys know, but behind the scenes, when we get together, it's chaos, but it's organized chaos. So really quick, mahalo, mahalo, mahalo to all of our Ohana, our friends, San Jose State, East Bay, Cal State University, East Bay. We got to thank SAMHSA. We got to thank all of our speakers that were here. So give them a virtual pa'i lima round of applause, you guys. Sharing with us. And that is the whole point of the Center of Excellence, is to create a space and a resource. And if you're not on our resource, we encourage you to get involved with us. Again, engage. There's also, we're asking you humbly to fill out an evaluation. If you got some interest, there's 2 different forms. Check out the chat. Don't forget, if you want to go ahead and hit that Menti. Our Menti is still up, right? If you have any questions. And speaking of questions, we got some Q&A coming up, but I want to throw it over to Lily Noy right now. Thank you so much for this first day, but I'm excited because we got another day.
No, mahalo nui to you, and mahalo nui to all of our speakers. We are going to get to questions in just a moment, but we do want to acknowledge the time for folks that do have to leave. We want to share just our closing slide to give some information in case you want to reach out to us. You can visit our website, again, AANHPI-ohana.org. You can visit us on Facebook and Instagram at Ohana Center of Excellence. Again, as Makani mentioned, there is an evaluation. That link will be in the chat. We also have an interest form that will be in the chat as well. These will both be emailed to you as a follow-up if you're on our Zoom, and they will also be on our Facebook Live in the comment section in case you need to reference them later. The interest form, we're trying to look for folks that are interested in joining our regional steering committees, right? We want to have our voices at the table. So please, if you're interested, if you want to share about the organization or the community that you work with, you know, if you're interested in doing a workshop or some kind of training, or you want to share resources, please reach out to us. Fill out the interest form. You can contact us on our website and we will get back to you. So again, mahalo nui to everyone. And I want to go ahead and so we're going to stay on an extra about 10-15 minutes to answer a few questions. There's so many questions that I don't know if we're going to be able to get to all of them, but we're going to get as many as we can today. And then, as Makani said, we do have a whole second day tomorrow. So please join us tomorrow. Again, we can also, you know, continue this conversation via email as well. So who do you want to read our first question?
If we can, we'll kind of go backwards. That last question we had, if anybody wants to jump in on this, the extensive discrimination against the Micronesian community as the newest immigrant community in Hawaii. What ways is the Ohana Center of Excellence ensuring that the services reach the needs of the Micronesian community that is most vulnerable and suffering currently?
So I think what's important to note is that the state of Hawaii, or the Department of Health with the state of Hawaii, is the only state that disaggregated Pacific Islanders, which meant we went one step further. So we didn't stop at Micronesian. We actually were able to identify Marshallese, Chukis, Yapis, Koshrayan, Pohnpeian. And then what we did is we created collaborative partnerships with community-based organizations that were embedded within these communities. So I think what's important is that as we move into this new direction and we create this online resource, that we continue to build those relationships, that we go to them, that we allow them to speak and we amplify their narratives, whatever it may be, and that we provide those services that they request of us. I think too often we all get in the mode of, let me tell you how to fix this. And I think this is the opportunity where we say to the community, how do you want us to support you in your solutions? Because that's what they're looking for.
Say that again. It's such an important thing because for so long we have other people telling us how to heal ourselves.
Yes.
But say what you just said, how we ask them.
So a lot of people who do research know about community-based participatory research. We have a new term. This is community-led, community-based participatory research, which means we don't go in as the experts. Those within the community are the experts, and they tell us what the solutions are, and then we support them in those efforts.
I like that. I like that. Mahalo for that. Let's go back to another question we had earlier on in the day. What solutions can you address for mental health support for our elders, especially those currently living in senior subsidized housing complexes?
Yeah, for this one, actually, I'd like to turn it over to Kathy over at California State University, East Bay.
Great. Thank you.
Kathy, to you. What solutions can you address for mental health support for elders, especially those currently living in senior subsidized housing complexes?
So I think that there are programs that are very successful at reaching elderly who are socially isolated and sometimes linguistically isolated, depending on the region and the area. And part of it is that they're working through agencies that do other types of care, for example, providing food, providing other types of needs. And so what happens is that care and the caseworkers that are working with those programs are also having contact with some of the socially isolated as well as linguistically isolated elders. One of the programs that's very successful here in California is called the Unlock Service Agency. They are a very long-standing program that started originally in San Francisco and Chinatown, has expanded quite expansively into other communities, including Latinx, LGBTQ elderly. And so they provide a lot of daycare programs. So it's sort of day activities as well as residential activities. And so I think there's a lot of different models where, again, it's really reaching people through the other needs that they have so that you can get to develop trust as well as provide those services. And I'm not sure if any of my other team members here want to talk about working with elderly in terms of those who are isolated, particularly in public housing and who may have low resources.
Thank you for that. So those of you that are continuing to send in questions, we know the time, according to my Honolulu clock, it is about 3 p.m. We really value your time. Get those questions in, continue on menti.com. If you do have questions, concerns, or you want to share with us, again, Center of Excellence, go to the website Lilinoy.
AAANHPI-ohana.org.
So again, we like to mahalo all of our cousins in Ohana out in California. I know there's some people online. I got to say aloha to the Federal Bureau of Prisons out in Pennsylvania and Georgia. They're online as well. If you are tuning in from the Kapai Aina, mahalo for that. And those of you that are on the continent as well, I think this is about that time. You want to take a few more questions? Let's say, do we have any more questions? If you guys want, no questions, remember now, a lot of this is we have to ask questions, we have to talk story, and that's what it's all about. We need to create a space for us. And speaking of creating space, we got to mahalo to Vai Vai Collective in Nu'uanu for giving us this space to share our knowledge and our ike and manao. And we like to thank, can we thank OEB TV as well and their entire crew for making us look good or for giving me a filter or something that they do. We have to thank all of our Papa Ololokahi staff and management. We have another day, my friends. Are you guys ready for another day? If you are on tomorrow, what time are we starting tomorrow?
9 a.m. Hawaii time and math.
12 p.m. Pacific time.
3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Oh, you guys are good. You guys are good.
Guam,
Yeah.
night or first APIs.
Joanne, what time will it be in Guam?
They're past the International Daylight, right?
I think it's 9 a.m.
Yeah, I think it's 23 hours, right?
When all else fails, we just Google.
Yeah.
What is going to be the time? But Hawaii time, my friends, 9 a.m. We will be right here. We're going to continue to share with you. If you missed some of our speakers and some of the knowledge that was shared, we're going to do it again tomorrow. So we encourage you to get on your phone, get on social media, call your friends, call your family providers. Whether you're an MR, whether you're a medical receptionist, all the way to provider, anybody that works in this field of behavioral therapy and medicine, anybody and everybody, including you in the community, we encourage you to get involved and engage with us. We're going to throw it back to Kathy real quick. Kathy, go ahead.
I want to thank our California State University East Bay staff here. So we have a faculty member, Kevin Pina, who very quickly worked with his students. So he has 3 student assistants who are incredible students here who have pulled together the studio in an old library building that is no longer in use here on campus. And so it's really been wonderful to work with them. Yeah.
Mahalo for their production team out there, you guys. You know, as we said earlier in the day, if there's no, we're good with questions, but continue to go if you even later. But we're going to slowly wrap this up. And what we want to do to continue on, earlier when we opened this session, it's all about breathing. It's all about being of the same breath. We want to make sure that this knowledge and this ike that has been shared is really put into our database of our po'o. So I'm going to ask again if you can take 3 deep breaths. Now this time, your first breath, I want you to think about ho'o mai ka'i, everything you're thankful for, being good, be it bad. The second breath, I want you to think of mihi, to forgive yourself, to forgive everybody around you. And the last one, that last breath, ho'oulu, inspiration. Why do we do what we do? Why are we here? Why did we create the Center of Excellence? What is your kuleana to your community and to your people? So as we say, hanu, hold, ho'omaikai. Think of everything you're thankful for, be it good, be it bad. What brought you to this point, to this day? Ha. Hanu, hold, and mihi. Forgive yourself first, then those around you. Ha. Hanu, hold, ho'oulu, inspiration. Why are we here? Why are you here? Your kuleana. Ha. And with that, my friends, we'd like to share a closing oli. Sure.
Everybody that knows Oli Mahalo.
Ai kako. Oya. With that, my friends, we say mahalo. Thank you very much for honoring us with your presence, and aloha. May love always be your guide. From the Center of Excellence, mahalo and aloha.